Well, it was 3 years ago at this very event that we launched the first official phase of the MAPS 3 process. It was sort of a call for ideas. We announced the formation of a website, maps3.org, and we asked the citizens of Oklahoma City 2 basic questions. One, is MAPS 3 something you even want to do? Are you even interested in seeing a list of projects that you could consider to be a part of MAPS 3? Well, the result in a very non-scientific survey was that 85% of our respondents said they wanted to move forward with the process. Now, the second question was a little more open-ended. It was, what would you like to see in MAPS 3? We had 2,747 responses. After we added them up, we looked for some common themes, tried to gather them together, and I want to draw your attention to the results of that all-inclusive survey of 3 years ago. We'll take a look, starting with the most popular. Here's a list of what you told us you wanted. Number 1, actually a runaway number 1, was transit. And as you know, it was directly addressed in MAPS 3 with the modern streetcar and funding for a transit hub. So let's put a check mark there. We've taken care of that. Number 2, infrastructure. Well, on this one, we didn't even wait for MAPS 3. On December of 2007, the citizens approved an $835 million bond issue, and over $500 million of that was going straight to streets and bridges and other road infrastructure. So put a check mark there on number 2. Number 3, improve the parks and build a new Central Park. Well, parks were included in that 2007 bond issue, and of course MAPS 3 included the granddaddy of them all, our world-class 70-acre core to shore park that will start construction here in the next few years. Number 4, improve and expand the city's bicycle and jogging trail system. Well, we just put it all in MAPS 3. We are all but going to complete the trail system all around the city. So put a check mark by number 4. Number 5, beautification. Well, we're all over this. The 2007 bond issue, the Project 180 initiative, which is going to remake downtown over the next 3 years. All of the streets will be impacted. And MAPS 3, of course, had significant beautification elements to it. Number 6, sidewalks. The 2007 bond issue adds hundreds of new miles of sidewalks. And we also, of course, put sidewalks in MAPS 3. Number 7, improvements on the Oklahoma River. Well, we have a whitewater course coming in and river improvements as a part of MAPS 3. Number 8, education. Again, we didn't wait for MAPS 3. In 2007, the voters in the Oklahoma City Public School District approved a $248 million bond issue that, among other things, includes new gymnasiums in all 47 of the elementary schools that didn't have them, which is a health initiative of particular interest to me. Meanwhile, many of the other 23 school districts that serve the students of Oklahoma City have also passed their bond issues during this period. At the same time, work on MAPS for Kids continues this year and next year, and just because that tax collection ended doesn't mean the work has. We're in the final stages now of MAPS for Kids. 35 of the MAPS for Kids schools are about to start construction in the next year or so. We're hiring the architects for the last 13 schools this week. In 2010, we will be selecting the site of the downtown grade school, and construction is coming soon on several other high-profile high school projects like Classen SAS, Southeast, Northeast, Capitol Hill, and Northwest Classen. Number 9, you wanted downtown retail. Well, that one's kind of tricky. I think downtown retail will be the result of MAPS 3, but it is not directly part of MAPS 3 or anything else that we've specifically done, so no check mark by number 9. Move on to number 10, football. You wanted a new NFL stadium. Well, that'd be really cool. I guess we could build one, but the problem is there wouldn't be a team to play there. But seriously, about football and soccer in general, I will note that MAPS for Kids constructed a brand new football stadium at Douglas High School, and the 2007 school bond issue has some money to improve both Taft and Spiegel Stadia. So how about half a check mark on number 10? Number 11, improve the Ford Center. Well, this was, remember, 3 years ago that we were talking about this. We took care of that in the spring of 2008. Voters approved the improvements. The improvements have already had one round. There'll be more taking place over the next year and a half. And at its conclusion, we will have an even better world-class arena. Number 12 on your list was a tie. First was the new convention center. You put a check mark there. That's in Maps 3. Tied with the convention center for 12th was getting a permanent major league team and building facilities for them. So we have a team. They're sponsoring lunch today, and we're building their practice facility right now. So put checks on there. And that puts us to 14th. 14th most popular suggestion to make Oklahoma City a better place, senior citizen centers. They are in Maps 3. Now, you're probably wondering, well, what was next? What was 15th? The 15th on the list, totally free, plentiful downtown parking. How many of you here want totally free downtown parking? You people drive me nuts. I have looked at this issue from every conceivable angle, and I understand as a concept it is very popular. Truth is, we have lots of parking, and we're building more, and a lot of it's free. It's probably never all going to be free. I can't find any other large city in the United States that has an overabundance of free parking, but I hear you. We'll put that in the category of you never know, but we're not going to put a check mark there. So that leaves us with the top 14 vote getters in that poll that we took 3 years ago. 12 and a half checks. The missed assignments, the downtown retail, which I believe will come, and the NFL football stadium, which is a completely other story. But I wanted to draw your attention to that list because it's a reminder that we have been on this journey together. Rarely has a community invested in itself as we have done, and has there ever been a community more united and more inclusive in determining its direction. As for Maps 3, now the real work begins. Like everything else to this point, the citizens are going to have a big role. Currently, the council and I are working toward the composition of the Citizens Advisory Board. We have had hundreds of people apply, and that type of interest is unprecedented at City Hall. I anticipate that we'll be making some announcements in the next steps very soon. Remember, the funding for Maps 3 begins on April 1st and runs till the end of 2017. We'll be working on the advisory board on the order of the projects. Based on the history of the previous MAPS projects, MAPS and MAPS for Kids, I would anticipate that the final MAPS 3 project would be completed somewhere around 2021. It'll be here before we know it. 2009 was the year we will remember as the culmination of a series of public commitments, the execution of which will continue to roll out over the next decade, transforming our city with a speed that few, if any, American cities have ever seen. If you take stock of the upcoming investments that our cities have committed to, it's a staggering list. Now consider, some of this is just around the corner, some of it's a little ways off, but all of this that I'm about to tell you about is going to happen in the next 10 years. The next 10. First of all, the Oklahoma Department of Transportation is working with us to complete the massive relocation of Interstate 40. It'll move 5 blocks to the south, and to complement that progress, we will be building a brand new boulevard that will take the place of the I-40 alignment and a stunning pedestrian bridge to cross over the new interstate and connect the two segments of the park. We will also finish up the 73 school projects that represent MAPS for Kids. As I mentioned, 35 of those projects are now in design and about to start construction. That will include a new downtown elementary school and 5 high schools. On top of that, we'll continue to work with the school board on building the projects of the 2007 school bond issue, and that includes those 47 gymnasiums that I mentioned. We will complete the upgrade of our sports arena, which should extend the Ford Center's life throughout this decade and beyond. We will also be completing the NBA practice facility, which we think ensures our major league status. And in just a few months, I mean, this is just around the corner when it warms up, we're going to start Project 180. This is a 3-year initiative that's going to redesign our downtown streets to be more beautiful and more pedestrian friendly. And it's also going to transform the myriad botanical gardens into an even more vibrant public space. We will complete the projects included in the 2007 bond issue. Projects that include our city streets, our parks. We're going to be building libraries. We're going to be renovating our police station. We're building new fire stations. And all of that merely sets the stage for MAPS 3. We'll be building a downtown streetcar system and a downtown transit center. We'll be building a modern urban park that will front the new boulevard and extend all the way to the river. And on the river, we'll have constructed the finest venue in the world for Olympic canoe, kayak, and rowing sports. 10 years from now, when we gather for lunch to hear the mayor speak, we won't be here. We'll have a new convention center, hopefully. And one of the exciting aspects to all of the things that I just discussed, all of those aspects that are coming in the next 10 years, you're going to be able to see them all when you stand atop Devon's 850-foot skyscraper. These are not just ideas, these are funded projects, all approved and funded without any increase from the current level of taxation. These projects used to be more vision than reality. Now they're more reality than vision. And I have said this before, but you'll probably hear me say it multiple times. The last 10 years of this city's history have been incredible, but they will not equal the next 10 years. This is our future. This is an incredible time to be in Oklahoma City, and it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. It's also going to require a lot of hard work. It's going to require community oversight. But I think we're going to get there, and I'm so excited to be working with the city staff on executing all of these projects. In June, in this very building, you heard David mention earlier that we're going to be hosting the nation's mayors, 77th meeting of the U.S. Conference of Mayors in Oklahoma for the very first time. And you have probably heard me talk about this and will more, but the 2010 event is very, very unpopular. It's very, very important that the 2010 annual meeting go well for Oklahoma City. This is probably the most important political gathering the state has ever hosted. It's going to require an enormous effort, the hospitality that we're famous for, and it's going to attract more than just mayors. There'll be congressional leaders, there'll be cabinet and other White House officials, there'll probably be governors here, perhaps world leaders. And even though parts of our city are probably going to look like one massive construction zone, the timing is really perfect because probably more than any audience, mayors appreciate construction cranes. They love big holes in the ground. Mayors recognize progress. And although each mayor is going to have pride in his or her individual city, I also know there is great interest in our story. And thank you for giving me such a great story to tell. There's a few other items I want to discuss today. Next month, our community will break ground on the new Westtown Resource Center. This project is the result of years of consensus building to determine the best way to deal with and care for our homeless population and others that need temporary shelter and assistance in getting back on their feet. We will be consolidating a number of the resources that are currently spread out around the city. This is an important project that shows even as we dream big, we have to remember that we have a responsibility to take care of others. This April, we will mark the 15th anniversary of the Oklahoma City bombing. The National Memorial and the museum have become national icons. And as we move farther away in time from that terrible day, the memorial and the museum become more and more relevant as a teaching tool for our world's future as much as our city's past. I think Executive Director Kerry Watkins is here today. Kerry, would you stand and allow us to recognize you for all the great work at the memorial? Thanks so much. We are so proud of that facility. She and Foundation Chairman John Rochelles are guiding the memorial through its ever-evolving mission, and I want to recognize them for what they're doing. Thank you for your work. We look forward to continue to work with you. Regarding transportation, obviously the streetcar project in MAPS 3 is significant, but that's really just part of the story. It's really just the beginning, because currently the city is engaged in a study on our transit hub needs. We are pursuing federal grants to supplement the commuter rail funding that was included in MAPS 3. Also, last summer, through the Association of Central Oklahoma Governments, we began a series of meetings with other municipalities in the region to get a serious regional conversation going about public transit. Let's bring the counties together. Let's bring the cities together. Now, the downtown streetcar is certainly a vital part of our public transit future. But going forward, Transit needs to transition from being a city responsibility to a regional responsibility. We're working with the county governments and certainly the leaders of our surrounding communities to determine the appropriate structure of a regional transit authority. As you know, our metro is designed really well for cars. We don't have much traffic congestion. But we also know that it may not always be that way. And for that and a lot of other reasons, including air quality and the ever-aging of our population, we need to be better prepared for the public transit needs of the future. We also need to begin establishing a track record of success in regional cooperation. And I know when it comes to regional cooperation, we have some wonderful examples in the economic development side sitting in the room today. We need to see our municipalities continue to follow that example, especially when it comes to transit. Another great example of an area that requires regional partnerships is public safety. And I have talked about this in this forum before. Among the public safety issues our region is going to address later this year is the county jail. We talk a lot about trying to fix it, but in that conversation, do not ignore a fundamental issue that needs to be addressed. We as Americans and as Oklahomans are not adequately dealing with our mental health issues. Now, it's not just here, it's happening all over the country. But we can't be waiting for someone else to solve our problems for us. We need to be in front and solving it. I also want to talk briefly about clean air and fresh water. These have traditionally been and remain Oklahoma City success stories. Relative to other cities in the nation, the quality of our air remains high. I will warn you, though, that the federal government is about to change the standards, which in the near term is going to make it next to impossible for cities our size to avoid making some level of changes, but we should be able to deal with what's going to be required, again, working regionally with the other cities. We're also getting closer and closer to securing another long-term water supply for central Oklahoma. Compared to other regions of the country, we have an abundance of fresh water available. We are in the final stages of securing even more water rights for our city and for central Oklahoma. When it comes to water and air, I think you'll agree, that it's important to consider not just the current generation, but the next. And that has certainly been our city's history, and it's becoming our city's responsibility. One area of the city's services that is undergoing great change is the way that we deal with animal welfare. Now, a few years ago, seeing that we at the city level were just not able to keep up with the growing demands, we asked for help, and help has arrived. It's a multi-layered effort, but right now our animal shelter is working with the Central Oklahoma Humane Society, the American Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, and several rescue missions, and we're doing much better. These are very passionate groups. They're very committed. Let me give you some of the results. In October of this year, we set a record for adoptions with 777 animals, mostly dogs and cats. 777 being successfully placed into new and caring homes. 777 in 1 month. More signs of progress. In November of 2007, we had 125 dogs and cats transferred from our shelter to rescue groups. Fast forward to November of 2009, just 2 years later, we had 404 dogs and cats saved by these rescue groups. Now, I don't want you to get the idea that this is a story of mission accomplished, but it's no longer a story of mission impossible either. In October, the ASPCA committed $50,000 to enhance our existing spay and neuter programs that takes place in low-income areas. We expect another $60,000 to go into that program later this year. And I know a lot of people in this room and around the city are looking for opportunities to make a difference in Oklahoma City. If you care about animals, these groups are making a difference, and they could use your help. Well, when you discuss the economic state of our city, even in this time of uncertainty, you cannot help but come to two distinct conclusions. One, economic times here aren't great, but it seems to be better here than in other places. And two, probably no city has more to look forward to than us. A couple of years ago, when Forbes magazine said that we were the most recession-proof city in the country, they weren't wrong. Looking back, it appears we were the last city to move into the recession. And as the economy improves, what my hope is that we come out of it earlier or along with everybody else. Hopefully, just because we were the last city to get into the recession doesn't mean we have to be the last one to come out. We spend a lot of time examining our economic position, and just as the nation's economy has slowed over the last year, our economy has slowed. But specifically, what are the numbers? What are the numbers as they relate to families in Oklahoma City? Well, I want you to look, first of all, at this graphic over the last few years. Those of you in the back, I'll try to fill in the gaps here. The U.S. average income is represented in blue. That graph on the left is 2004, so 6 years ago. Oklahoma City is in red. The national per capita income there is in blue on the left. The graph on the right, those bars represent 2009, so 5 years later. Look how Oklahoma City's income has caught up and surpassed the national per capita income. We have gone from lagging behind at 92% of the national average to 104% of the national average. This is remarkable growth, and it may be the most impressive story that we can share about our economy. The gross metropolitan product, which is the sum of all goods and services in the metro area, has risen 33% since 2004. We have moved into the top 20% of all metro areas in terms of GDP growth. Okay, let's look at another graphic. This is population growth. Since 2004, we're the blue line. That's Oklahoma City. The red line is the United States. The green line is the state of Oklahoma. Now, this speaks strongly to the job and income growth. The state has been at 4.6%. The nation's been at 4.8%. We have grown at 7%. I think this speaks to the income growth. I think it speaks to the quality of life elements that we have successfully implemented. It has inspired people to move to Oklahoma City. I had a reporter from California ask me recently why so many from his state were moving to Oklahoma. And I told him it's the reverse of the grapes of wrath. It's the wrath of grapes. Yeah, he thought that was funny too. Like seemingly every other community, our unemployment numbers have been going up. They actually ticked down this month, but I don't know how important that short-term tick is. We're continuing to watch these closely, but we remain among the lowest in the country. In fact, we have had the lowest unemployment in the United States for 8 of the last 12 months. We typically battle Washington, D.C. and the city of New Orleans for that number one spot. Well, all of this macroeconomic data has a real-world effect on government because when times are bad, you end up with fewer taxpayers and lower tax receipts. That means you have less money for core services like police officers and firefighters. It also impacts your infrastructure like your parks and your streets. And in city after city all across the country and even in Oklahoma, police officers and firefighter positions are being eliminated in some cases. Parks and streets budgets are being cut way back. So the logical question is, what about us? What about Oklahoma City? Well, if you're talking about city expenses, you're talking about public safety. It's where roughly 2/3 of our money is spent. And compared to other cities, we're still in a very enviable position. In good times, we have handled our money conservatively. And early last year, at seemingly the first sign of trouble, our city manager instituted a hiring freeze. And now, with the passage of MAPS 3 and the accompanying use tax, we're in a position to buffer any shortfall, protect our public safety, and actually increase the number of officers and firefighters on the street going forward. But just like every other city out there, we have long-term funding issues. We have sustainability issues about the ever-rising cost of public safety. We also need the economy to turn around. But I believe it will. It always has before. But if your question is, how long can the city of Oklahoma City hang on in these uncertain economic times to what is basically our current service level? The answer is really, it depends on how long this recession lasts. But I feel strongly that no other large city in the United States has weathered this economic slowdown better than we have. And the passage of MAPS 3 should give us even more confidence in the future of our economy than any federal stimulus package or bailout program ever could. Speaking of big numbers, there's one more topic I want to address today. I waited till after lunch. Our obesity effort seems to be showing continued signs of success when it comes to spreading the word and opening up a community-wide dialogue about the dangers of being overweight. We have just started our third year of our program. We have moved past the halfway point of reaching our goal of 1 million pounds. Here's the numbers as of this morning. The website, thiscityisgoingonadiet.com, over 40,000 people have joined, including several hundred new participants in the last few weeks. Our total weight loss, you see it up there in the right-hand corner of the screen, which we froze for you on the screen up there, 519,000 pounds. Number of people on there, let's see, well, I can't read it, 40,400 and something, looks like 40,421 as of this morning. That's terrific, and so basically you got 40,000 people that have lost over 12 pounds apiece. That's pretty amazing, and so let me use this time to lead you to this site. If you think it can help someone in your family, it's thiscityisgoingonadiet.com. One of our many success stories in 2009 took place at the FAA Center. They had 106 employees that wanted to get started on a weight loss initiative. 106 of them. So they weighed in, they made progress on their weight loss goals. When they weighed out, they'd lost 904 pounds, nearly 9 pounds apiece, which is another example of an organization that's helping its employees deal with a very difficult issue. Battling obesity is a winnable battle, and it's an important fight for us to win. Well, we are undergoing a lot of changes to help make this a healthier community. You heard me talk about the bike paths. We have the sidewalks going in. We have the senior health and wellness centers that are a part of MAPS 3. The new gymnasiums coming to the grade schools, all are significant steps. But it's still going to come down to us. It's still going to come down to individual action. It's still about what you eat, and it's about how much you eat, and it's about the lifestyle changes that you make for yourself and your family. And you can choose to be mad at Congress if you want to about health care, but we can't blame Washington, D.C. for our personal health. That is up to us. Let me close with this. A lot of times, when someone is going to lose weight, they take a picture. They take that before picture. You know what someone looked like before they lost weight. Well, if you own a camera, you might want to start taking pictures of downtown Oklahoma City, because the way our city looks is about to change dramatically. Some of these changes are going to occur in the very short term, in the next few months. Some will be several years to complete. But over the next 10 years, the look of downtown is going to fundamentally change. And downtown should matter to you. No matter where you choose to live in the metro area, downtown is important. And of course, we're working on improvements throughout the city. You see it in the sidewalks and the bike paths and the senior health centers that will be spread out. But downtown is about to undergo a massive reconstruction, a change that will impact the entire region for the better. So remember all that as you experience the many inconveniences that are no question going to confront us, the seemingly endless detours that are certainly ahead. Just close your eyes, and in 5 or 10 years of headaches, it'll all be past us. Winston Churchill once said, "A lie gets halfway around the world before the truth has a chance to get its pants on." Oklahoma City is a great place to live, and don't let anyone tell you differently. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you to everyone who made today's event possible, but most of all, thank you for passing MAPS 3 and believing in the future of this great city.